The planet Varnus glowed under the light of its twin suns. Its skies were a brilliant blue, and the towering cities shimmered with polished metal and glass. The people of Varnus were strong and proud, a race of warriors who had defended their world for centuries. Their cities were filled with warriors in bright armor, military academies, and training grounds where children learned to fight from a very young age. It was a world of order, strength, and honor, but it was also a world of beauty. Gardens floated between towers, rivers sparkled with bright turquoise water, and the songs of native birds filled the air. In the center of the capital city stood the royal palace, a vast building of shining white marble and blue crystal. The palace was home to the royal family, who guided the Varnian Empire with wisdom and care. Among them was Princess Alira, a young woman known not only for her beauty but for her intelligence and kindness. She had sharp eyes that seemed to see the heart of every person, and a gentle voice that could calm even the most anxious soul. Alira loved her people deeply, and had spent her life learning about diplomacy, history, and the responsibilities of leadership. Yet she had never seen the world beyond Varnus until now. A strange event was unfolding. Scouts from the outer sectors had returned with news of a human from Earth, a species unknown to the Varnians. Humans were thought to be myths, creatures from old stories said to be both clever and unpredictable. The idea that a real human had traveled across the stars excited many, and the royal council agreed that the visitor should come to the palace for observation. The human arrived on a small, silver ship. Its design was unlike anything the Varnians had ever seen, small and modest compared to the grandeur of their own vessels. The air shimmered as the ship descended onto the palace grounds. Guards surrounded the landing area, their weapons ready, yet they could not hide their curiosity. From the ship came Ryan, a human male of medium height. His hair was dark and his eyes were sharp but kind. He walked slowly, deliberately, as if taking in every detail of the world around him. He wore simple clothes, soft and plain. In contrast to the armored soldiers of Varni, there was no arrogance in his movements. He smiled politely at the guards and the council, and his voice when he spoke was calm and soft. Alira stood among the council members as she observed him. She could feel something in the way he moved, a quiet confidence that was different from the brash nature of her people. Ryan bowed slightly to the princess, and she noticed a depth of respect in his gesture. Unlike the Varnians, who were taught to show strength through posture and tone, Ryan's respect seemed genuine and unassuming. "I come in peace," he said, his voice smooth and even. "I wish only to understand and to learn." The words struck her. There was no hidden meaning, no hint of desire for power or conquest. In a world where strength often meant dominance, Ryan's gentleness was unusual, and it drew her attention immediately. Over the following days, Ryan was guided through the palace. He marveled at the architecture, the gardens, and the technology of Varnus. When he encountered guards, he spoke with courtesy, asking questions rather than giving commands. Alira watched him closely, noticing how he treated even the lowest-ranking servants with respect. To the princess, this was extraordinary. One afternoon, during a tour of the training grounds, a young soldier stumbled while carrying a heavy weapon. Without hesitation, Ryan rushed forward to help, lifting the young Varnian's burden effortlessly. The soldiers around them exchanged surprised looks. They had expected the human to be clumsy, to struggle, or perhaps to ignore the young trainee. Instead, Ryan had acted with calm skill and concern. Alira stepped forward, curiosity shining in her eyes. "You are unlike anyone I have ever met," she said softly. "You do not fight to prove strength, yet you can act decisively when needed. How is this possible?" Ryan smiled faintly. "On my world, strength is not measured by violence. It is measured by the choices we make. I do not fight unless it is necessary, but when it is, I must be ready." The words lingered in her mind. In a society that valued combat above all else, the idea that one could be strong through peace was almost foreign. Yet Alira could sense that he spoke the truth. As the days passed, Alira spent more time with Ryan. They walked through the palace gardens, discussing philosophy, history, and the cultures of their respective worlds. He was curious about Varnus, but he was also humble in his questions. Alira found herself drawn to his presence, feeling a sense of calm she had never experienced before. Soldiers who trained nearby noticed how she would linger in conversation, smiling at his quiet humor and simple wisdom. Meanwhile, the council grew uneasy. A human unknown and untested was living in the palace. Many feared that he might be a spy or a threat. Some advisors whispered that he was too gentle to be trusted. Yet Alira stood firm, defending him. "We cannot judge a being by appearances alone," she said. "Ryan has shown respect, patience, and honesty. That is more than many here can claim." A small celebration was held in his honor. Varnians of all ranks came to greet him, offering gifts and performing songs of welcome. Ryan accepted everything with gratitude, bowing and thanking the participants. At no point did he seek attention or praise. His humility made him stand out even more. During the celebration, a minor crisis occurred. A fire broke out near the eastern gates of the palace. Panic spread among the staff and soldiers, but Ryan acted immediately. He coordinated the workers, directing them to put out the fire and rescue trapped animals from the gardens. His calm voice cut through the chaos, and in less than an hour, the fire was under control. Alira watched him from the balcony above, her heart swelling with admiration. She had expected him to be gentle in words and manners, but here was proof that his gentleness was not weakness. It was strength disguised as patience and wisdom. She realized that strength could take many forms, and perhaps the human had the kind of strength that even the fiercest Varnians could not match. When the fire was extinguished, Ryan walked toward her. Dust clung to his clothes and sweat beaded on his forehead. Yet his expression remained composed, almost serene. "The danger is gone," he said simply. "Everyone is safe." Alira descended to meet him. "You have done more than anyone could expect," she said. "You are not only gentle, but capable in ways I cannot describe. I feel drawn to you, not for your strength alone, but for who you are." Ryan looked at her with the same calm eyes that had first captured her attention. "I am honored, Princess. I am learning about your world, and I hope to serve it well." From that day on, Alira and Ryan grew closer. They spent their days exploring the palace, discussing ideas and observing the people of Varnice. Ryan's gentle demeanor brought peace to the court, and his quiet intelligence impressed even the most skeptical advisors. Yet beneath the calm surface, there was a hint of mystery. Ryan never spoke of his past in detail. Alira had learned that he had traveled far to reach Varnice, but the reasons remained unclear. She sensed that he had lived through experiences far beyond her imagination. It made her respect him even more, for it seemed that this human had chosen peace even after witnessing the horrors of conflict. The council slowly began to change their opinion. They observed the way the Varnians responded to him. Soldiers who had trained with Ryan showed improvement in coordination and discipline. Young warriors looked to him as a model of focus and calm. It became clear that his presence in the palace was not a weakness but an advantage. One evening, Alira and Ryan stood on the highest balcony of the palace, looking out at the twin suns setting over the city. The sky blazed with orange and pink, and the gardens below glowed softly in the light. "Do you ever miss your world?" Alira asked. Ryan looked thoughtful. "I do, but I am here now, and I want to help make this place better, even in small ways. I am learning that strength is not always shown in fighting. Sometimes it is shown in caring and understanding and choosing peace when others would choose conflict." Alira smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest she had never known before. "You are unlike anyone I have ever met. Perhaps humans are more remarkable than we ever imagined." Ryan looked at her, his calm eyes reflecting the fading light. "Perhaps we are, and perhaps together we can face what is to come. I do not seek glory, Princess. I seek only to protect, to learn, and to live with honor." In that moment, Alira understood something important. The human she had welcomed into her world was not weak. His gentleness was a choice, not a flaw. It was strength shaped by experience, patience, and wisdom. And in a world of warriors, she realized that such strength could change everything. As night fell over Varnice, the palace glowed softly under the stars. Alira returned to her chambers, thinking of the human who had walked into her life. Ryan remained in the garden, looking up at the sky, silent and watchful. The people of Varnice continued their routines, unaware of the arrival of a being who would one day redefine their understanding of strength and courage. And thus began the story of Ryan, the gentle human whose calm presence in a world of warriors would become legend. He had arrived as an outsider, a visitor from a distant star, but he would leave a mark on Varnice that no force could erase. Peace on Varnice was a fragile thing. For centuries, the Varnians had lived among the stars, exploring distant planets and expanding their influence. Yet not all who looked at Varnice from afar saw a world to admire. From the dark edges of the galaxy, a species known as the Dreknar had been watching. They were a fierce, aggressive people, known for their speed in attack and their cunning in war. For them, Varnus represented a prize, a world of beauty and wealth that must be taken. The first signs of trouble arrived quietly. Scout reports began coming in from the outer territories. Small Dreknar patrols, unusual ship movements, and villages attacked along the border. At first, the council dismissed the reports. The Dreknar are far away. They cannot reach us here, some said. Others were more cautious, warning that a small strike could escalate into something larger. Alira listened to the reports with growing concern. She had spent her life learning to anticipate danger, and the signs troubled her. She called for a private meeting with Ryan in the palace gardens, where the fountains reflected the sunlight in sparkling patterns. "Ryan," she said, her brow furrowed, "we are seeing unusual movements along our borders. The Dreknar may be preparing for an attack. What do you think?" Ryan observed the horizon, his calm expression unchanged. "From what I have learned about their species, Princess, they strike quickly and retreat if faced with resistance. Their strategy relies on fear. If we are prepared, we can defend ourselves, but we cannot underestimate them." Alira nodded. She trusted his judgment, even though she knew the council would resist any idea that a human could advise them on military matters. "Will you help me prepare?" she asked. "I will," Ryan said simply. "If we must face them, I will help keep your people safe." The council was divided. Many generals were skeptical of Ryan, the gentle human who had never fought in Varnus. They argued that his experience on Earth could not compare to the realities of interstellar war. Yet Alira insisted. "Ryan has a perspective we cannot ignore. His calm thinking, his understanding of strategy, may be the advantage we need." Despite the council's doubts, preparations began. The palace was fortified and troops were stationed along the borders. Young warriors trained day and night, their movements guided not only by traditional Varnian techniques but also by Ryan's suggestions. He taught them methods from his world, ways to remain calm in battle, to anticipate enemy movements, and to coordinate attacks efficiently. Some soldiers resisted, unwilling to follow a human's advice, yet the results of his training quickly became clear. Then, the first attack came. It was small at first, a Dreknar squad striking a border village. The Varnian soldiers fought bravely, but the Dreknar were faster, their movements unpredictable. Villagers fled in panic, their homes burning around them. News reached the palace quickly, and alarms echoed through the city. Alira watched the reports in horror. Her people's homes were being destroyed. The council called for immediate action, but they were unsure of the best strategy. Ryan stepped forward, offering calm guidance. "We cannot meet them in panic. We must organize our forces, predict their movements, and protect the civilians first." The council reluctantly agreed. Soldiers were dispatched under his direction, and Ryan moved among them, ensuring that they were prepared. For the first time, many Varnians saw that gentleness could coexist with strength. Ryan's calm presence allowed the soldiers to fight with greater focus, reducing panic and confusion. Meanwhile, Alira insisted on visiting the border villages herself. She could not bear to sit in the palace while her people suffered. Ryan accompanied her, though she had expected him to remain behind. "I will not leave your side," he said. "We face this together." The villages were in chaos. Homes were burned, fields destroyed, and villagers frightened. Yet even in the middle of destruction, Ryan acted with method and care. He directed the soldiers to form protective lines, evacuated civilians, and even personally carried injured people to safety. Alira followed his lead, helping wherever she could. Together they calmed the villagers and began to restore order. During one rescue, a young boy tripped and fell into a narrow trench. A Dreknar warrior appeared at the edge, ready to strike. Ryan did not hesitate. He stepped between the boy and the enemy, moving with a speed and precision that surprised even Alira. In moments, the Dreknar warrior was disarmed and captured, and the boy was safe. Alira watched him carefully. This was the first time she had seen Ryan act with such force. There was no anger in his eyes, no desire for revenge. He acted decisively to protect life, to stop harm before it could spread. She realized that his gentleness was not weakness. It was a choice to act only when necessary, with purpose and clarity. News of his actions spread quickly among the soldiers and villagers. Many who had doubted him began to see his value. He was not a warrior in the traditional sense, but his decisions and calm demeanor saved more lives than brute strength alone ever could. That evening, back at the palace, Alira and Ryan sat in the gardens. The city was quiet for the moment, but the threat of the Dreknar remained. Alira's heart was heavy with concern, yet she felt a sense of hope. "Your methods, they are different from ours," she said, "and yet they work. You have saved more people than I can count today." Ryan nodded, his calm eyes reflecting the soft glow of the moon. "Strength is not only in weapons or armor. It is in understanding, planning, and choosing the right moment to act. I have learned that through experience, Princess. You must remember that the same applies to your people." Alira thought about the soldiers she had seen, young and skilled, yet often rushing into situations without thinking. Ryan's guidance had changed them, given them focus, and taught them to act with intention rather than impulse. She realized that his presence at the palace was not only important, it was necessary. The next morning, reports came of a larger Dreknar force moving toward the capital. It was an army, faster and more organized than anyone had anticipated. Panic rippled through the city as people feared the worst. The council met in urgent session. Some argued for evacuation, while others wanted to meet the enemy head-on. Alira spoke firmly. "We cannot flee. If we leave, the people will suffer. We must prepare to defend the capital, and we must do so with strategy, not panic." Ryan stepped forward. "We can defend the city, but we must act as one. The soldiers must be organized, the civilians protected, and the Dreknar must be anticipated. If we fight without thought, we will lose." The council reluctantly agreed to follow his plan. Ryan organized the defenses, dividing the soldiers into units, positioning them strategically around the city, and ensuring that civilians were moved to safe zones. He walked among the troops, giving calm instructions and encouragement. Even those who had doubted him felt reassured by his presence. Alira observed from the palace balcony as Ryan moved like a shadow among the soldiers, his calm determination setting the tone for the entire city. She had never seen such leadership in her life. He did not shout, he did not demand obedience, but every soldier moved with purpose because of his guidance. As the Dreknar army approached, the city prepared for battle. Fires were lit along the walls as warning signals, and defensive mechanisms were activated. Soldiers took their positions, civilians were secured, and Ryan moved to the center of command, overseeing every detail. When the first wave of Dreknar scouts appeared, the soldiers held their ground, following Ryan's plan perfectly. The Dreknar were surprised. They expected panic, disorder, and fear. Instead, they met a city united, its people calm and prepared. Ryan watched carefully as the enemy moved. He had not come to Varnus to fight, yet he had not avoided it either. He understood that protecting life sometimes required action, even when one hoped for peace. And now, faced with a real threat, he was ready to guide the people of Varnus through the shadows of war. Alira stood beside him, her hands gripping the balcony railing. "I trust you," she said quietly. "Do not let them harm our people." Ryan nodded. "I will do everything I can. We must stay calm, think clearly, and act wisely. That is the key to victory." As the sun set behind the twin towers of the palace, the first sounds of battle echoed across the city. Smoke rose in the distance, and the cries of soldiers and civilians alike filled the air. Yet amidst the chaos, Ryan's presence brought order. Soldiers moved with purpose. Civilians found safety. And the Varnians realized that strength could come in forms they had never expected. That night, Alira could not sleep. She walked through the palace halls, thinking of the human she had welcomed into her life. He was gentle, yes, but she had seen a glimpse of something more. There was power in his calm, courage in his patience, and wisdom in his quiet voice. She realized that the human she had admired was not only different but extraordinary. The Dreknar threat was far from over, and the shadows of war stretched across Varni. But Alira knew one thing with certainty. With Ryan by her side, the people of Varnus had a chance to survive. And perhaps through his guidance they would learn that true strength was not only in fighting, but in knowing when and how to act, even in the face of fear. The morning sun rose over Varnus, casting its golden light across the city. The twin suns made the towers shine as if they were carved from crystal. The air was thick with tension. The first Dreknar attack had been repelled thanks to Ryan's guidance, but everyone knew it was only the beginning. Scouts reported that a larger Dreknar force was approaching the capital, one that would test the city's defenses like never before. Alira moved through the palace, checking on soldiers and the wounded. The city had suffered some damage during the initial attacks, and the people were frightened. Despite the chaos, she remained calm, her sense of responsibility guiding her every step. She found Ryan in the command hall, surrounded by maps and reports. His calm eyes scanned the data, noting troop positions, weak points, and supply routes. "You are working too hard," she said softly, placing a hand on his shoulder. Ryan looked up and smiled faintly. "I cannot stop now. Every detail matters. If we fail to protect our people, no one will survive. I must plan every move carefully." Alira studied him, noticing the quiet determination in his gaze. She had seen his gentleness in action before, but now she sensed something deeper, a controlled energy, a readiness to act when the moment came. She did not know the full story of his past, but she could tell that Ryan had lived through challenges far greater than anything Varnus had faced. The Dreknar arrived by midday. Hundreds of their ships darkened the sky, and their forces poured toward the city like a living wave. Their war machines moved with terrifying speed, striking villages along the borders before turning toward the capital. Alira's heart sank at the sight. The city braced for the assault, walls shivering under the sheer presence of the enemy. "Prepare the defenses," Ryan instructed calmly. "Do not panic. Everyone has a role. Soldiers, stay in formation. Archers, take positions on the walls. Civilians, move to safe zones. We will face them with strategy, not fear." The Varnian soldiers, though trained for war, were initially stunned by Ryan's composure. Some still whispered doubts, questioning a human's ability to lead in battle. Yet when they saw his precise instructions and the clarity of his plan, they began to follow without hesitation. The Dreknar forces struck in waves. Their attacks were fierce and relentless, but the city held. Soldiers moved with newfound coordination, civilians remained safe, and Ryan directed every move with calm authority. His strategies were different from traditional Varnian methods. He did not rely on brute force alone. Instead, he anticipated the enemy's movements, using traps, diversions, and timing to their advantage. Alira watched from the palace balcony, her hands gripping the railing. Each wave of Dreknar that approached the city was met with careful resistance. Yet her concern grew. She had seen soldiers fall, their armor pierced by Dreknar weapons. The city could not hold forever. Then something happened that made everyone stop and stare. A group of Dreknar warriors attempted to breach the central palace gates. They were fast, their weapons deadly, and their intent clear, to strike at the heart of Varnus. The guards were overwhelmed, struggling to hold them back. Ryan did not hesitate. He stepped forward, moving toward the enemy with a speed that surprised even the seasoned soldiers. Alira's breath caught as she watched him. His movements were precise, controlled, and powerful. In an instant, he disarmed one Dreknar warrior, used his momentum to push another back, and intercepted a third before they could strike a guard. It was unlike anything the Varnians had ever seen. Ryan's gentleness had vanished in the face of danger, replaced by skill, precision, and controlled strength. He moved like a shadow, striking only where necessary, never wasting energy and never harming more than he had to. Alira ran down to meet him, her heart racing. "Ryan, stop! You are risking yourself." He did not stop. "I cannot let them reach the palace. The people behind these gates are counting on me. I will protect them, princess." In moments, the Dreknar were defeated. Several lay unconscious, disarmed, and incapacitated, while others fled back toward their ships. The palace gates remained secure. The soldiers and guards stared in awe. For them, it was a revelation. This gentle human who had seemed inexperienced in their ways had just single-handedly defended the palace from seasoned warriors. When the battle subsided, Alira approached Ryan. Who are you really?" she asked, her voice trembling. Ryan looked at her, his calm demeanor returning. "I am not just a traveler, princess. I have fought wars on my world, Earth. I led soldiers, commanded forces, and faced dangers you cannot imagine. I left that life behind because I wished for peace. I came here to see another world, to learn and to live without violence. But sometimes peace requires action." Alira's eyes widened. She had suspected he had a past, but she had never imagined it was so vast. "You fought in wars? You were a soldier?" "Yes," Ryan said quietly. "But I am no longer that person. I choose to protect, not to conquer. That is why I am here. That is why I am at your side." The Varnians who overheard his words began to murmur among themselves. Their view of Ryan shifted. They had dismissed him as gentle and weak, yet now they understood that his strength was unlike anything they had ever seen. It was not in size or in shouting orders, or in wielding weapons recklessly. It was in skill, judgment, and the ability to act decisively when it mattered most. For Alira, this revelation was profound. She had admired his gentleness, his calm presence, and his wisdom, but she now realized that there was a hidden depth to him. His kindness was not weakness. It was strength tempered by experience, courage, and choice. That evening, the council gathered to discuss the next steps. The Dreknar would return, stronger and more determined. The city's walls, though impressive, could not withstand a full assault indefinitely. The generals debated strategies, each louder than the next, their voices filled with frustration and fear. Ryan listened patiently, then spoke. "We must combine what we have learned from our experiences. Panic and aggression will only lead to loss. We must defend strategically, protect our people, and act with precision. We must also prepare for the possibility that I may need to engage the enemy directly if necessary. That is not a choice I make lightly, but it may be required to save lives." The council members were stunned. A human suggesting the need for direct combat with an enemy army was unheard of, yet they could not deny his reasoning. Alira stepped forward. "Ryan has proven himself today. His guidance saved lives. I trust him completely. We must follow his plan." The soldiers and citizens of Varnus worked tirelessly that night. Under Ryan's direction, they repaired damage, reinforced walls, and prepared defenses for the coming battle. Young warriors trained under his watchful eye, learning techniques that blended Varnian skill with human strategy. Alira moved among them, supporting their efforts and providing encouragement. As night fell, the city became a quiet storm of preparation. Fires burned in the distance as warning signals, and patrols moved along the walls. Ryan walked through the streets, checking every detail, speaking quietly to soldiers and ensuring that the civilians were safe. His calm presence brought reassurance even in the shadow of war. Alira found him standing on the highest tower, looking out over the city. "Ryan," she said softly, "I see now. Your gentleness was only the surface. Beneath it is a strength that I never expected. You have protected more lives today than many warriors could hope to. How can one person carry so much?" Ryan turned to her, his expression serene. "It is not about carrying alone, Princess. It is about knowing how to act when needed, about understanding the world and choosing wisely. That is strength. That is the difference between fighting for honor and fighting for life. I fight only because I must. I do not enjoy it, and I hope that one day it will not be necessary." Alira looked at him, awe and admiration filling her heart. She had thought she understood what it meant to be strong, but Ryan had shown her a new definition. Strength was not merely physical power or aggression. It was patience, understanding, and the courage to act rightly when others faltered. As the twin suns rose the next morning, the city braced for the next wave of Dreknar attacks. Ryan moved to the front lines with the soldiers, his blade ready if needed, though he hoped for strategy over bloodshed. Alira stood beside him, her trust in him complete. The people of Varnus, once skeptical of the gentle human, now looked to him with hope. They had seen his skill, his calm in the face of danger, and his ability to protect those who could not defend themselves. Ryan was no ordinary human. He was a hidden warrior, one whose power lay not in arrogance or cruelty but in wisdom, discipline, and choice. The Dreknar forces approached, and the city waited. Smoke rose in the distance, and the first sounds of battle echoed faintly through the streets. Yet amidst the tension, there was a sense of calm determination. With Ryan leading them, the Varnians understood that they could survive, not because they were stronger than the Dreknar, but because they were guided by a force unlike any they had known, the quiet strength of a human who had learned to protect rather than destroy. And so, the hidden warrior revealed himself, not as a conqueror but as a guardian. His presence would change the fate of Varnus forever, proving that even in a world of warriors, true strength could be found in patience, skill, and the choice to defend what truly mattered. The city of Varnus trembled under the looming threat of the Dreknar army. Smoke from the distant border villages hung low in the sky, and the cries of fleeing civilians echoed through the streets. The twin suns rose slowly, casting a pale light over the fortified walls, shining on the soldiers who prepared for battle. For the first time, the Varnians felt the weight of real danger pressing against their gates. Princess Alira moved among her people, encouraging soldiers and civilians alike. Despite the fear that gripped many hearts, her calm presence helped keep order. Beside her, Ryan observed the city from a high tower. His eyes scanned the horizon, noting the movement of Dreknar forces, their formations, and the ways they intended to strike. His calm demeanor never wavered, even as the first wave of enemy ships approached. "We must hold the walls at all costs," Ryan said to the council and generals. "Our city is strong, but if we act without strategy, even the strongest defenses will fall. Soldiers, stay focused, follow your training, and protect the people. Civilian safety comes first." The generals nodded, though some still doubted a human's judgment. Ryan, however, had proven himself in the previous skirmishes. The soldiers trusted him now, moving into formation with precision and focus. Even the youngest recruits who had never seen battle before were calm under his guidance. As the Dreknar army advanced, the first wave struck with speed and precision. Their machines crashed into the outer walls, their weapons sending shards of stone and metal into the air. The soldiers responded with arrows, energy shields, and coordinated counterattacks following Ryan's carefully laid plans. The battle raged in the streets and on the walls, yet Ryan remained a figure of calm authority, directing soldiers and civilians alike. Alira watched him, her heart filled with admiration. "He does not rush. He does not panic. Every move is thought through," she whispered to a nearby guard. "I have never seen such skill." Even as the battle intensified, Ryan moved through the city, checking each defensive line and encouraging the fighters. He lifted fallen soldiers, directed civilians to safe zones, and coordinated counterattacks with precision. His actions saved countless lives, yet he did not show any sign of exhaustion. To the Varnians, he seemed almost superhuman. The Dreknar commander, a massive figure named Vorak, appeared at the edge of the city with his personal guard. His dark armor glinted in the sunlight, and his presence radiated menace. He was a warrior of great skill, and his reputation struck fear into the hearts of even the bravest soldiers. Ryan watched Vorak carefully. "This is the real threat," he said quietly to Alira. "If we do not stop him, the city may fall. We must act decisively." Alira felt a shiver run down her spine. She had seen Ryan's calm in action, but she had not seen him face an enemy of this magnitude. She feared for him, yet she also knew that he was the city's best hope. Ryan gathered a small team of elite soldiers and moved to intercept Vorak. The soldiers followed without hesitation, knowing that the human who had guided them through earlier battles was now leading them directly into danger. Alira followed from a safe distance, unwilling to leave the city unprotected but desperate to see him safe. The first encounter was brief and intense. Vorak's guard clashed with Ryan and his team. Steel and energy collided, sparks flying as strikes were blocked and parried. Ryan moved with a speed and precision that left the Varnians stunned. Each move was calculated, each strike decisive. He did not attack out of anger or desire, but to protect. One by one, the enemy guards fell, incapacitated but unharmed beyond necessity. Vorak, realizing that Ryan was no ordinary opponent, stepped forward himself. His massive frame towered over Ryan, and his weapon glowed with deadly energy. The two faced each other in silence, the noise of battle fading around them as if the world had paused to witness this confrontation. "You are human," Vorak said, his voice deep and threatening. "Weak and fragile. You should have stayed on your planet." Ryan's eyes remained calm, his grip firm on his blade. "I am what I am. I fight to protect, not to destroy. That is the difference between us." The duel began. Vorak struck first, swinging his weapon with immense force. Ryan dodged smoothly, using momentum and timing to avoid the deadly blows. Each movement was precise, guided by experience, skill, and intuition. The soldiers watching from the walls gasped. They had never seen anything like it. This human moved with the skill of a master warrior, yet there was no rage in his eyes, only focus. The battle between Ryan and Vorak raged across the outer grounds, each strike shaking the earth. Ryan used not only physical skill but strategy, anticipating Vorak's movements and exploiting weaknesses in his guard. He disarmed the Dreknar warrior multiple times, yet he never killed unnecessarily. Every move was about protection and control. Meanwhile, Alira watched from the walls, her hands clenched. Her heart raced as she saw Ryan move with such deadly efficiency, yet she trusted him completely. She realized now that the gentle human she had married was more than a protector. He was a warrior unlike any Varnian had ever seen. His gentleness had never been weakness. It had been patience, skill, and courage waiting for the moment it was truly needed. As the battle continued, Ryan managed to isolate Vorak from his forces. With quick, precise movements, he disabled the Dreknar's main weapons and forced Vorak to retreat temporarily. The city's soldiers, inspired by Ryan's leadership, pushed back the Dreknar army along the walls and streets. Villagers who had fled to safe zones watched in amazement as their defenders held strong under Ryan's guidance. Alira moved quickly through the city, ensuring that the injured were cared for and that the civilians remained safe. Every now and then she caught glimpses of Ryan, fighting tirelessly, never pausing, never faltering. She realized that his presence alone gave hope and courage to the soldiers and citizens alike. Night fell, but the battle did not cease. Fires burned across the city, smoke filling the air, yet Ryan continued to coordinate defenses. He moved from one sector to another, directing soldiers, aiding the wounded, and ensuring that every strategy was executed perfectly. The Dreknar had underestimated the unity and strength of Varnus, guided by this human whose calm had become a weapon in itself. By midnight, the Dreknar forces began to retreat. Vorak, furious at his failures, pulled back with the remnants of his army. The city had survived the assault, but at a cost. Buildings were damaged, soldiers were injured, and the people were exhausted. Yet Varnus still stood, its walls intact, its citizens alive. Alira approached Ryan as he stood in the central courtyard, surveying the aftermath. Dust and sweat clung to his clothes, yet his eyes remained calm, his posture steady. "You did it," she said softly. "You saved the city." Ryan shook his head. "I did not do it alone. Every soldier, every citizen played a part. I guided them, yes, but they fought bravely. They are the true protectors of Varnus." Alira smiled, her heart swelling with admiration. "You guided them with such skill, such calm. I have never seen anyone like you. You are more than a warrior. You are a guardian, a protector." Ryan's expression softened. "I hope that one day the people of Varnus will understand that strength is not only in weapons or power. True strength is in protecting life and making the right choices and in remaining calm when others panic." The city began to rebuild in the days that followed. Soldiers repaired walls, civilians cleared debris, and everyone worked together under Ryan's guidance. Alira stayed by his side, helping wherever she could. The people now looked at the gentle human with respect and awe. His actions had not only saved lives, but had also inspired the citizens to see a new kind of strength, one built on patience, wisdom, and courage. The council, once skeptical of Ryan, now acknowledged his value. "He is unlike any being we have known," one general admitted. "His strength is not only in fighting, it is in his mind, his choices, and his ability to guide others. He has saved our city when many would have failed." Alira realized that Ryan had changed Varnus forever. The people had seen that gentleness could coexist with power, that calm could overcome fear, and that true courage was not only in wielding a blade but in knowing when and how to use it. As the sun set over the city, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Alira and Ryan stood together on the palace balcony. The city below was battered but alive. Fires still burned in some areas, but the people were safe and the walls remained strong. "You were amazing," Alira said quietly. "The gentle human I married has become the defender of Varnus." Ryan smiled faintly. "I am still gentle, Princess. I have only acted because it was necessary. My goal has always been the same: to protect, to serve, and to preserve life. Nothing more." Alira took his hand, feeling the calm strength in his grip. "You are more than anyone could have imagined. Not only a protector, but an example for our people. They will remember this day forever." Ryan looked out over the city, thoughtful. "Let this day remind everyone that strength comes in many forms. Some fight with anger, some with skill. But the strongest are those who choose to protect what matters most. Varnus has proven its courage, and together we have faced the darkness." The city of Varnus awoke to the light of its twin suns, but the air remained tense. The Dreknar forces had retreated after their first attack, yet intelligence reports warned that their commander, Vorak, would return with greater numbers and more powerful war machines. The city's citizens moved cautiously, repairing walls, clearing debris, and attending to the wounded. The soldiers remained on high alert, ready for the next strike. Princess Alira stood on the balcony of the royal palace, looking out over her people. Her heart was heavy with concern, But it was also filled with confidence. She had seen the strength, skill, and wisdom of the human who had come to her world. Ryan had become more than a visitor. He had become the city's guardian, a force of calm in the face of chaos. "Ryan," she said softly, approaching him, "the Dreknar will return. Are we ready?" Ryan's eyes scanned the horizon, noting every detail. "We are as ready as we can be, Princess. The soldiers are disciplined, the defenses strengthened, and the people prepared. The key is to remain calm and act with precision. We can defeat Vorak, but it will require everything we have." Alira nodded. She trusted him completely. She had watched him face danger, calm and resolute, guiding her people through fire and chaos. His gentleness had never been a weakness. It had been the foundation of his strength, the secret behind his incredible skill. As the sun climbed higher, Vorak's fleet appeared in the sky. Hundreds of ships moved with terrifying speed and precision, their weapons glinting in the sunlight. The Dreknar commander was here, ready to crush the city that had resisted his previous attack. Panic rippled through the streets as citizens and soldiers alike watched the approaching force. Ryan stepped forward, placing a reassuring hand on Alira's shoulder. "Stay calm," he said. "We will face this together. The soldiers know what to do. The people will be safe. Follow my lead, and we will prevail." The soldiers formed ranks along the walls and streets, following Ryan's carefully laid plans. Archers and energy units were positioned strategically. Traps were set along key points, and civilians were secured in safe zones. Ryan moved among the ranks, offering guidance and encouragement, his presence inspiring confidence and courage. The Dreknar attacked with ferocity, crashing against the city's walls and gates. Explosions rocked the streets, and the sound of metal against metal filled the air. The Varnians fought bravely, but the Dreknar were relentless. Yet every time the enemy struck, Ryan's strategies countered them. His calm calculations anticipated their movements, directing soldiers to hold key positions, intercept attackers, and protect civilians. Alira watched in awe as Ryan moved with precision, striking only when necessary, never wasting effort, yet neutralizing threats with skill that seemed almost impossible. The Varnians realized that the gentle human who had arrived months ago was now their greatest weapon, his wisdom and calm more powerful than any army. Then, the final confrontation began. Vorak led a squad of elite Dreknar warriors directly toward the palace gates. The soldiers braced for the assault, but even they were uncertain if they could hold. Ryan stepped forward, blade in hand, his movements calm but focused. "Alira, stay behind the walls," he instructed. "I will stop Vorak." She nodded, fear gripping her heart, yet trust in him was unwavering. "Be careful," she said softly. Ryan moved like a shadow, meeting Vorak's forces head-on. The battle was intense and fast. Ryan's movements were precise, striking only where necessary, avoiding unnecessary harm, yet disarming and neutralizing enemies with incredible skill. The Varnians watched in awe, their earlier doubts replaced with admiration and respect. Vorak finally faced Ryan directly. His massive frame towered over the human, and his weapon glowed with deadly energy. The duel began, a clash of strength, skill, and strategy. Vorak's blows were powerful, but Ryan's agility, timing, and precision allowed him to avoid or counter every strike. "You are human," Vorak sneered. "Weak, fragile, you cannot defeat me." Ryan's eyes remained calm. "Strength is not measured by size or power alone," he replied. "It is measured by wisdom, patience, and the choice to act rightly. That is the strength you lack." With a swift series of precise movements, Ryan disarmed Vorak, using his opponent's momentum against him. He moved carefully, never striking with unnecessary force, but effectively incapacitated Vorak and his elite squad. The remaining Dreknar soldiers, seeing their leader defeated, began to retreat in fear and confusion. The city erupted in relief and celebration as the Dreknar forces withdrew. Soldiers cheered, civilians came out of hiding, and the streets were filled with joyous voices. Ryan stood among the soldiers, calm but resolute, ensuring that every corner of the city remained safe. Alira ran to him, embracing him tightly. "You did it," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "You saved Varnus." Ryan smiled faintly. "We saved Varnus together. Every soldier, every citizen played a part. I only guided them." The council gathered in the aftermath of the battle, their expressions a mixture of awe and respect. "We underestimated him," one general admitted. "He is not only human, He is a master strategist, a warrior, and a protector. His strength is unmatched. Alira nodded. He has shown us that gentleness is not weakness and that wisdom and patience can be as powerful as any blade. Ryan has changed the way we see strength. Over the following weeks, the city rebuilt. Walls were repaired, homes reconstructed, and soldiers and civilians trained together under Ryan's guidance. The people of Varnus had learned an important lesson. True strength was not only in fighting, but in protecting, in making wise choices, and in staying calm under pressure. Ryan became a figure of legend among the Varnians. Children whispered stories of the gentle human who had arrived from a distant star and saved their city. Soldiers admired his skill, not just for the way he fought, but for the way he taught them to act with thought and care. Even the council, once skeptical, came to rely on his advice for every decision regarding defense, strategy, and leadership. Alira and Ryan's relationship grew stronger. They had faced fire and danger together, and their bond was unbreakable. Alira admired not only his strength but his humility and kindness. Ryan respected her wisdom, courage, and devotion to her people. Together, they were a force for good, a symbol of hope and leadership in a world that had almost fallen to chaos. One evening, as the twin suns set and the sky turned shades of orange and purple, Alira and Ryan stood together on the palace balcony. The city below was calm, peaceful, and safe once more. The people celebrated their victory, but the leaders knew that vigilance would always be necessary. "Ryan," Alira said softly, "you have changed everything. You have saved lives, taught our people a new kind of strength, and shown us what true courage is. I am proud to stand by your side." Ryan looked at her, calm and gentle. "I did what I had to do, Princess. I only acted to protect life. Your people are brave, and their courage inspired me as much as I guided them. Together we have shown that strength and gentleness can coexist, and that wisdom is the greatest weapon of all." Alira smiled, feeling a warmth she had never known. "Varnus will remember this day forever, and they will remember you, Ryan, the gentle human who became their greatest warrior." Ryan took her hand, his calm eyes reflecting the light of the twin suns. "Let this be the beginning, Princess. Together we will protect this world, guide our people, and face whatever comes from the stars. Peace may not last forever, but we will be ready. We will always choose to protect life." The city of Varnus slept that night, safe under the watchful eyes of its defenders. Fires were extinguished, walls were repaired, and the people rested, their hearts filled with hope. The Dreknar threat had been defeated for now, but the memory of Ryan's skill and leadership would remain forever. In the days and months that followed, Varnus prospered. Trade resumed, gardens flourished, and the city rebuilt itself stronger than before. Ryan continued to guide the people, not as a ruler, but as a guardian and mentor. His presence was a constant reminder that true strength lay in wisdom, calm, and the courage to act rightly. Princess Alira and Ryan became symbols of unity and hope. They taught the Varnians that strength was not just in combat, but in protecting others, in guiding wisely, and in standing firm when faced with impossible odds. The story of the gentle human who had defended Varnus spread across the stars, inspiring countless civilizations, and so, the legend of Ryan, the gentle warrior, and Princess Alira, the wise and courageous leader, endured. They had faced the darkness together, and through their courage, wisdom, and unity, they had brought peace to a world on the brink of destruction. The twin suns set over the city, their light reflecting off the walls and towers, shining on a world forever changed by the strength, kindness, and courage of a human from a distant star. Varnus had survived, its people inspired, and its future secure, all because one gentle human chose to act when it mattered most.